I decided to practice drawing 100 portraits in only 7 days to see how much I can improve. I'm going to be doing all of these drawings digitally in Krita. I won't be able to spend too much time on each portrait, so I set a timer for 20 minutes and started working on the first one, using a reference I found on Pinterest. When the timer was up, I realized that the drawing was terrible. Okay, it was actually not that bad, but the whole face is pretty distorted and the shading is messy. This wasn't quite the strong start I had been hoping for, so feeling a bit discouraged, I began work on the second portrait. The likeness to the reference is better, and the contrasting shading values are an improvement over the first, but I spent over half an hour on this one. I need to practice being faster. For the next few portraits, I wanted to try drawing some interesting facial expressions. Clearly, some of them turned out better than others, but overall I think they were pretty good. The sixth portrait of the day is my favorite so far. The teeth actually kind of look like teeth. I finished the first day having completed 7 portraits. It's a decent start, but I'll need to draw a lot more every day if I'm going to be able to complete 100 portraits by the end of the week. Day 2. I woke up on day 2 and immediately got started drawing the 8th portrait of the challenge, but I ended up quitting the drawing before it was completely finished because it was turning out very badly and I was getting frustrated. I wouldn't normally consider myself a perfectionist by any means, but I spent day 2 feeling unusually critical of everything I drew. Maybe I'm just worried no one will be interested in a video filled with 100 mediocre portraits. To combat my perfectionism, I decided to try doing a couple of drawings with just a 3-minute time limit. Considering the short amount of time I drew them in, the first one wasn't too bad, but personally, I'd rather not look at the second ever again for the rest of my life. Anyway, at this point I had completed 10 portraits, which meant I had finished 10% of the challenge. To celebrate, I decided to attempt my first painting. I spent over an hour on it, and I'm pretty happy with the outcome. However, I realized that the painting I made lacked the dark shadows that the reference had, and the absence of contrasting values made the painting look flat. I'll definitely be practicing my painting more before this challenge is over. I think I've improved already at capturing the likeness of a reference, especially with some of the next few portraits. My lines are also getting less scratchy, too. By the end of day 2, I had completed 17 portraits, but I'm still behind schedule to complete 100 in a week. Day 3. The portraits from day 3 are easily the best so far, in terms of accuracy to the references and overall structure and line confidence. I also attempted another painting, and after making the sketch, I struggled at guessing the correct colors and eventually resorted to pasting the reference directly into Krita and using the eyedropper tool to pick colors from it. This might sound like cheating, but I think it can be good for learning to accurately recognize colors. Even after spending about an hour and a half on the painting, I was still eager to continue drawing and trying out new styles with each portrait. I was really happy with almost all of the art I was making. Eventually, I found this reference here, and I thought, wow, that looks like it would be really hard to draw. Only a fool would attempt to draw that. So I decided to try drawing it. I was in the mood for something difficult. The hands were a bit of a nightmare, and in the end, most of the fingers were too thin, but I still really liked the finished result, and it was fun to try it. I drew 11 portraits today, reaching a total of 29, and it took over 5 hours. I'm tired. Day 4. After spending hours drawing on day 3, I felt super tired and unmotivated. I just wanted to do literally anything but draw more portraits. Also, I'm still really far behind schedule to finish 100 portraits in the week, so today I'm going to have to force myself to try to recover by attempting many quick 5-minute sketches. I soon learned that 5 minutes isn't much better than 3, and although the first portrait of the day wasn't terrible, the rest were, in my opinion, really bad. I thought drawing quickly would allow me to catch up with the pace of the challenge, but all that it's done is make me frustrated and generally miserable. I completely gave up after drawing only 7, reaching a total of 36. Day 5. On day 5, I didn't draw any portraits, but got distracted and made a quick sketch of Quasimodo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame for fun. I really didn't want to draw much today. I told myself that I was resting and recharging for a dramatic finish to the challenge before the end of the week, but in my head I was already trying to think of other video ideas to replace this one. I was really considering quitting the challenge and giving up. I spent all of day 6 out of the house. I drew a little bit in my sketchbook, but didn't make any progress on the portrait challenge. But on day 7, I found myself suddenly seized with new determination. I decided that even though I couldn't possibly complete 100 portraits by the end of the day, I'd still finish the challenge drawing as much as I could. However, I was still thoroughly bored of portraits, so I decided to instead draw cartoon characters. Trust me, all the principles of portrait drawing from photos would still apply, so the practice should be just as good. After feeling burnt out with this challenge for so long, I was finally starting to have fun with it again. I probably could have done even more drawings today, but I accidentally watched all of Spirited Away with my sisters while looking for a reference of the witch Yubaba. So, after 7 days, I managed to complete 45 portraits. It's a long way off from the 100 I planned, but I do think my drawing has improved a fair bit since the start of the week. Day 8. Even though I had now officially failed the 7-day challenge, I felt determined to reach 100 portraits, even if it took longer than I initially planned. I was worried that people wouldn't be interested in the video if I failed the challenge, so I sort of half considered faking the video and pretending I drew all 100 portraits in 7 days, but I thought that would be a really scummy thing to do, so I didn't. Anyway, I kept drawing portraits of animated characters, and I was having a lot of fun and making some really decent looking drawings. By the end of day 8, I had reached 61 total portraits, having drawn more today than any other day in the challenge. Some of the drawings today look so accurate to the references that you might think I traced them. Maybe, I don't know. I've been drawing for so long, it's turned into winter outside. Loads of footprints over here. Wow, that's a good shot. I really wish I could find a deer, but they're like rare. What are these? Day 9. I started day 9 with a few more portraits of animated Disney characters, and then decided to have another go at photo references. So I created a board of several photos, and I sort of tried to combine them into a semi-original portrait. I spent less than 20 minutes on the sketch, and I really like how it turned out, but I didn't bother to find a reference for color and lighting, and I tried to make it all up myself. This clearly didn't go so well, and after working on the painting for over an hour, the whole thing is a pretty ugly mess. I decided to continue the day by attempting some really complicated facial expressions, several of which included teeth, which are infamously hard to draw. I don't think I'd have been able to draw these as well at the start of the challenge. Day 9 ended and I had finished 70 portraits in all, and I knew that, tired as I was, I would complete the challenge soon, definitely within the next few days. Day 10. On day 10, I tried to really focus on understanding the underlying structure of the faces I drew. Some of the first few ended up kind of ugly and distorted, but once I got into it, I think I made some of the best portraits so far. I also discovered today that I really like drawing wrinkly skin, like on this reference here. It's just visually more interesting than perfectly smooth skin. The last portrait of day 10 is actually a reference that I've already drawn many years ago when I was 14 or 15. The drawings might look very similar, in fact you might not think I improved at all in this time, but the difference is that I spent over 40 minutes on the old drawing and only 16 on the most recent one. Day 11. On day 11, it felt like everything just sort of started to click. I felt like a master of portraiture. I focused hard on super clean line work and cross-hatching today, and it made most of the drawings look really elegant and refined. I tried out many complex references I definitely would have struggled with 11 days ago, and I also managed to draw a reference that showed the skin and eye being pulled downward, and the drawing actually looks like that. I was really satisfied, but also excited that I was nearly finished 100 portraits. In fact, by the end of day 11, I had reached 89, but it honestly felt like I had drawn thousands. I was so ready for the challenge to be over. Day 12. It's been nearly 2 weeks since the start of this 7-day challenge, and I knew today, the 12th day, would be the day I finally finished 100 portraits. As I made the first drawing, I could feel all the skills I had developed over the last 12 days making their way into my art, and I was able to start very accurately drawing some complicated references. My lines were clean, simple, and refined, and most of the drawings looked as though they were three-dimensional. I had more fun drawing portraits today than any other day in the challenge, because I saw that everything I had drawn up to this point, even the bad drawings, had helped me improve a lot. For the 99th portrait, it's only natural that I decided to draw our Lord and Savior himself, Rick Astley. At first I was planning to only do a sketch, but then I realized that I needed another painting for the thumbnail, so I may have spent an hour of my day painting Rick Astley while Never Gonna Give You Up played on loop in the background. What am I doing with my life? Anyway, for the final portrait of this challenge, I decided to try redrawing the first reference from day 1, just to see how much better I can make it, and with the same time limit as the first time. I ended up getting really stressed out while drawing it because I was so determined to make it look really good. Ironically, I think my stress made the drawing worse. Even after drawing 100 portraits, I don't think the last one is much better than the first. The proportions and structure are off, and the likeness to the reference is only a little better. That's not to say I don't think I improved throughout this challenge, because I definitely did, but it's still possible for me to make drawings I don't like, and that's fine. So yeah, I practiced drawing 100 portraits in 12 days, not 7, and I guess that makes the title of this video technically clickbait. Like the video if you liked it, dislike if you didn't, I guess, and thanks a lot for watching. So while I was looking for a reference of this guy, I discovered this super ugly 4-inch tall discontinued Burger King action figure on eBay, and now I need to have it. The problem is that it costs money, so if I could just direct your attention to the join button, you could become a channel member for just $2.99 a month so I can buy this. Consider becoming a member, this is really serious and I'd appreciate it so much. Bye!